Coble. I am the career success coach at Yellowtail Tech, and this is another episode of Yellowtail Talks Tech. I'm excited today to have three students, or I should say, well, they're all three students, but they're at different stages of the journey through Yellow Tech. So we're going to start with George Sikalos, who is actually, George, you're still in the internship, about to go into the mock interview process, correct?
As of now, finished the internship, ready to go for my first mock interview.
Okay, excellent. And Shermon Gardner, who is Sherman, the Shermanator. You have already gone through that and have been out there in the process of doing interviews. And I know you've been really active with the interview process. Just quickly, how's that going, man?
It's been fun, really challenging. Had the opportunity of daily speaking with recruiters, multiple interviews, just trying to find something that will be a good fit for me and my family, and as well as a good organization as well. So really excited.
Right on.
So what
I like that you said for you and your family, because it does affect them as well.
Oh yeah.
And then finally we have Dan the Man Bailina, who's gainfully employed and looking a little more corporate these days with the button-up shirt there and everything. So, Dan, you've been out there, like about 2 weeks has it been now? You've been out on your first job as a Linux administrator, yeah?
Yeah, so I've been on about 3 weeks now at my current job. And I try to put on a nice polo and look professional and blend in with the corporate folk.
Yeah, you got to do what you got to do. It's like one thing about the tech world, and of course everybody has different levels of dress code and everything. But we're not the suit and tie kind of guys. I mean, I'm sure we can all clean up nice if we need to, but the polo shirt, the jeans, that's kind of more the attitude that we're going for here, I would guess.
Yeah.
So now that I appreciate you guys all coming on and talking with me here. I thought it would be fun to do an episode with students, because I want to provide kind of a realistic look at going through the program and the hurdles that you faced, what it takes to succeed as a student at Yellowtail Tech. And I don't want to sugarcoat things. I know the journey can be arduous at times, and somewhat, I don't know. How many times have you guys cried along the way? Let's start out with that.
We're not going to admit that on here. Come on, man.
Yeah, exactly.
Can't do that.
So, I do just about every day, but but they're tears of joy when I watch you guys go out and get jobs and everything. So I guess my first question is just going to be along the lines of, what attracted you to the tech world to begin with? What was it about tech that made you want to be a part of this industry? And I'll start with you, George. Tell me a little bit about what brought you into the game.
Yeah, thanks. I'm obviously, like a lot of people at Yellowtail, career changer or an aspiring career changer. And I was a school teacher for many years. And what brought me into tech is just one of the things I love about it is that it's, if you have the type of personality trait that is that of a lifelong learner and you like to learn and continually learn, this is the field. Like there is like never ending pathways and knowledge to obtain. So that's very attractive to me. It's like every day I hear some new acronym or some new software and, I'm like, what is this? And so on one hand, tech piques my interest in that way, in that it's definitely going to be like a rabbit hole of just endless information, which intrigues me because I do get bored easily in some career fields. In addition to that, I wanted to kind of future-proof myself. It's like a buzzword. I see the world changing. I've seen it go from analog to digital to who knows what's next, and I just want to make sure that because of my family and for my family, that I'm on top of it. Like that I'm not just following along for the ride, but I want to be part of the ride and helping create that new future. And so a combination of just the endless learning and the just the being a part of the future, like help create it rather than fall victim to it or what have you.
Yeah, it's easier to adapt than than to try to fight it. It's here. It's not going anywhere. It's forever changing, and it's important that you embrace it. And I think it makes it a much easier way to deal with things. Sherman, same question, man. How about you? Did you didn't have any background? I don't think any of you guys had a background in tech prior to coming to us, right?
Well, I kind of, my journey here was a bit different to most, because I did actually come from, you would say, an educational background in tech, and a little bit of IT background as well. My journey here, more or less, I kind of took the path that most take, where you're told, hey, you got to go out and get the degrees and you got to get this paperwork and that paperwork. And soon after graduating from college, I kind of landed a basic software specialist role at the institution that I graduated from, and then kind of transitioned over the years due to moving, due to sacrifices with the family, like most of us here, into varying different roles, not always directly connected to tech, which was always my passion. So, after moving, getting an advanced degree, kind of moving back to North Carolina and spending a few years in accounting. I always knew I wanted to kind of get back to my passion of technology. Always heard about Linux, never really understood basically or got too deep into what it is. So my decision to and my path to finding Yellowtail kind of went around the idea of wanting to narrow my focus, find an area of technology that I wanted to pursue. And obviously, there's a lot of opportunity and growth in system administration. So for me, it was just about returning to my passion, really focusing on an area of technology that I knew had a lot of growth. And setting myself up where I can be educated in that field, and then going out to find roles that fit that passion. That would be great for me and my family in the long run.
Nice,
as always.
Nice. So. Now, Dan, I know, and I know George as well, but I'm going to ask a question of Dan. You worked as well as went to school here, so tell me about the juggle that you had to embark upon there. How did you find the time to study? How did you discipline yourself to do so, and all of that?
Sure. First, I'm going to answer the first question, though. I had no skills prior to Yellowtail. I was just looking for a career change. It brought me towards technology just because it's like longevity. You can definitely do this for the rest of your life, or however long you want to do technology. And there's several fields that you can go into, not just Linux. My company that I work for, Charter Communications, is I'm doing Linux work right now, but there's plenty of other departments that you can progress your career into, like cybersecurity and DevOps. There's a Kubernetes program. There is a ton of work out there that I'm just now realizing, this is a possibility for me.
Nice.
But yeah, when I was going to school, I worked a 9-to-5 job. I was a truck driver. It wasn't hard to get around the schedule as long as I was on a schedule. The way I broke it down was it'd be 9 to 5. I'd go home, I'd get something to eat, I'd start my school, and then I'd have the other 2 days to practice the material that I was on. But I was always on a schedule, like Monday through Thursday. Friday was fun. Saturday, I went into the classes for more material learning. So like me and a couple of like classmates would meet up on Saturday or Sunday, and we'd, grind it out some more. And that was optional. But I mean, I was pretty consistent with that as well.
I like what you said, though. It's like, as long as you had a schedule, you could kind of make the schedule up. So it didn't necessarily have to be a 9 to 5, but you were smart enough to know that you needed to discipline yourself. And if I'm not mistaken, all of y'all have families too, right? With kids. And I mean, that makes it even harder. I would imagine, and I'll just open this up to whoever wants to go. They were probably a part of that decision for you to come into the program. And then, you had to set some boundaries to start with as like, I'm going to need to be studying at this time or something like that. Yeah.
I'll take that for a quick second. Definitely. It was a sit down, and it was like, look, I'm going to better our future, so I need your support 100%. And everyone bought in. It wasn't like, oh no, that'd be an indication I'd probably be in the wrong relationship, but like it was complete support. It was, go for it. I know this is a good decision. It's thought out well. You've brought it up to me, and go for it. So it was, at that time, we made schedules. Before the class even started, we made a schedule. We ensured that we had to switch a couple things around. Like usually I put the kids to bed, so she had to put the kids to bed, which wasn't a big deal. And then wait till the kids go to bed to study. So like I just sort of shifted my life to like a later evening type of situation. There's 24 hours in the day. That's one thing I want to tell people, like aspiring students. Like there's no such thing as I don't have time. There is time. Like you might have to sacrifice sleep, but it's for a year.
You guys all look pretty well rested, I'll have to say. So it's funny, you talk about kids, you got to force them to go to bed. It's like, you got to force to keep me out anymore. It's like, I'll go take a little nap. So, it's definitely, it's definitely something that affects everybody, but it's kind of the paying the dues portion and everything, So you get into class and, you start getting all this stuff thrown at you and everything. And would you guys each consider yourselves, prior to coming to Yellowtail, good students?
Dan's
kind of shrugging a little bit. I'll be honest. I was a terrible student. I just was not a good student. And, and that's not like, if somebody's not a good student, I don't think ill of them. It's just different people learn different ways. Mm-hmm. And, at Yellowtail, you get kind of a little bit more of a hands-on approach. Whereas, standing or sitting in a classroom, listening to the talking head is just not my thing,
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah. My perspective on it, I love learning. And, I've been to so many schooling that, when I approach Yellowtail, their whole concept is around persons who do not have any IT background. So, the beginning point to, where I am today, everything was laid out as if, it's someone who can't or doesn't understand anything or have any background in IT. So for me, that was great, because having not really had that experience in Linux, it's like, you can go from a very basic core understanding, hey, what's a file? What's a directory? How to cat a file? What does that mean? And then basically building your way up to more information, more in-depth information. So the whole process and the whole format of the course is excellent. And I would go so far as to say, my instructor, David, and for myself, having been to so much school, he is by far one of the best instructors I have ever had, hands down. And what really helps with that, I'm sure, is having instructors who are actually currently right now working in the field. So not only are they able to break things down to a really basic reality in explanation, but also they're able to give you real life examples as well. So I know that goes a long way for everyone in the cohort or in my cohort as far as learning and understanding, and then being able to apply, hey, what is that going to look like in a real world environment? So for me, the experience was excellent.
Nice. Now, Dan, you've had an opportunity. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Dan.
I'll piggyback on to that.
Yeah.
I don't consider myself a good student, but I am a determined and competitive person. And the way that the class is set up, you either learn the material or you get swept over under the rug. I mean, like, you have to keep up and you have to like keep, learning the material, or you're just not going to progress any like further along it. Because like once you learn a particular thing, it'll build. So like you have to have the foundation, and then another layer, and then another layer on top of that, and then you'll be all right to at least get through the exam and go on to the next step, which is the internship.
So, Dan, let me continue on with you as somebody that doesn't necessarily consider themselves a really good student or a great student. Did you have to develop any, or I'm sure you did. Let me re-ask the question this way. How did you develop study habits, or what did you do to help you keep up with everything and to, keep your interest in everything?
Well, see, what's great about the Yellowtail program is it's there for you. Like, the instructor's going to say it clear as day. Like, you're going to go through, like, let me back it up a little bit, actually. I was always confused on Monday. It got a little bit better on Wednesday, and Saturday is when I actually started learning the material.
Okay.
So that was the cycle that went on through my head every week. Was confused on Monday, didn't have a lick of understanding what the material was.
Me too.
Wednesday got a little bit better because it's like a little bit of a review. Yeah. And then Saturday is when you start sinking in, because you got your classmates, kind of going through the same deal. And then you kind of use them for the information that you don't know. And then you're also teaching them, the information that they might not know. Gotcha. And the instructor is always going to say, whatever you don't know, you put it in Slack. And then everybody is going to learn from everybody in the class, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I like that. In these Saturday sessions now, they weren't really a part of the program. That was just something that you did on the side, like pulled some people together.
Right. You don't have to attend them. It's just super beneficial to go to the Saturday and Sunday class.
They're facilitated by Yellowtail, Rob. If like there was like a volunteer, usually at least in my cohort. And
was that Nagalia, right?
What's that?
Or it was per cohort, because I know Nagalia
per cohort,
too.
Yeah. So. Yeah, because for our cohort, our instructor, I believe, volunteered Saturday and Sunday. We had just study sessions where you could come together. You bring any questions you have for about an hour. Sometimes it went to 2, and he's there to walk you through the assignments, walk you through the weekly tests that we would have, walk you through any questions you may have. And then I think after a few weeks, he always promoted, hey, get together with your cohort mates and form study groups. And ironically, as Dan was saying, is these study groups where, many of us will have a lot of questions or just want to practice, and we will share our screens. Hey, let's go through this question or this assignment. And those are the times, you really, really get the most out of what was taught during the course. And on top of that, everything is recorded. You're giving the recordings of the course, the class that week, or the classes that week, and then you're able to go back and review. And that also serves as an additional aid to everything you've covered in the week before. And that's something you could have, for the rest of my life. I still go back now if I want to review storage, or if I want to review networking, and take a look at the videos that I've saved. So
Nice.
It's a resource that I have, for as long as I need.
Show of hands, did everybody take a lot of notes?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
I'll tack on a couple of things. In terms of notes, the one thing that I did is I started a Microsoft OneNote software, and I just kept everything organized, which is not my number one skill trait, organization. I learned it through this program, because if you don't have organization, you're going to get lost. A couple of things I would say, though, if there's like new people or people considering, I'd say to be successful, you have to be an active learner. You cannot be passive. Passive learners will fail. I just hate to be blunt about it. But if you're just going to lay back and just hope through osmosis, you're going to grab this knowledge. It's not going to work out for you. And you probably don't have the passion for it either. I would say that driven by, I think, like for me, I had a purpose, and that was to completely change my life around. Right. And that was enough for me to stay motivated throughout the entirety of the program. But the one thing that I did is I stayed very active. I wasn't afraid to ask questions. I didn't care if they sounded stupid. I remember I was a school teacher for 15 years, so I heard every stupid question. So mine weren't as bad. So, I think it's very important that if you're learning anything new, but especially if you're a career changer and this is foreign to you, you have to be active. You have to ask questions until you get clarity. You pay good money for this. And you should get a return on investment, and that would require that you ask questions until you understand what's being brought to you. So that's one thing I did. I kept the OneNote. I was very active. I participated. I answered questions when the instructor asked, because I understand that a good learner is active in his learning. The last thing I did that I think really helped me is I created videos, like tutorials. After I learned something, I know I learned better by teaching it to someone. So after I learned a concept, I would go on Loom and I'd record and I still have the website where I still to this day put little 5-minute videos up. Because one of the things that was kind of annoying was when you go to search on YouTube or something for like videos to kind of support or supplement anything you learn, it's hard to find anything decent. And they're usually very tech heavy, like tech jargon heavy. So I try to create like simple language. And then I shared these videos with my classmates, my cohort mates.
Nice.
So that
I got to get that link from you, to put in this, conversation.
Okay. But I'd say the big takeaway here is, even if you're not a great student, as long as you're an active student, you're asking questions, you're doing the work, you'll learn. There's no way you can't not learn.
I think that, and I get to watch you guys on Slack, which is, for those that don't know, Slack is our main communication means throughout Yellowtail. And I get to watch you guys. And I love when I see the questions come out, because number one, that shows me a passionate student, somebody that's asking questions and eagerly wanting to learn. And then to follow that up, when I watch the community come alive, because it's not, it's usually not an instructor or a teacher or faculty member or whatever that's answering these questions. It's usually you all are kind of chiming in and answering each other's questions and helping each other out. And I love that sense of community. I think it's really important. And I agree with you. I don't think really there are stupid questions. I think questions show more intelligence than they do ignorance,
And while we're here all together face to face, I want to thank Sherman and Dan. Those are two people that have answered questions for me on Slack.
Oh, nice.
So thank you guys.
Awesome.
Yeah, we've been there. We've been there. We know how it is.
Yeah, and I can guarantee you that the ones that you see getting involved and the ones that you see answering questions, sharing resources, just being a part of the community, like the three of you, which is one of the reasons I wanted you three on here, is those are the successful ones. It's definitely a squeaky wheel gets the grease kind of thing,
Right.
So Do either of the three of you have home labs set up?
Yes.
I think we all do, just through like
you have to.
Yeah.
Well, and that was going to be my question for those that don't, because I mean, you got to have some kind of way to be able to practice everything, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm everything, when we initially start, we use VirtualBox for, having various servers that we can practice on. But right now, I'm like George did. I think I saw him on LinkedIn. I'm really trying to nail down some more experience in Ansible. So, I kind of set up my own environment. Have my client servers and just trying to write playbooks and see if I can automate certain things, because I don't think I have had many interviews that has mentioned in some way some sort of automation, or particularly with Ansible. So just various things. When you become a student, obviously you're going to learn how to get that done. And it will be very important for, as George and Dan said, to practice, because practice over and over again. Our instructor used to say 100,000 times. Just do it over and over again. And then you will finally be at a place where you feel comfortable in any particular area. So,
yeah. So after you go through, I mean, the whole culmination of going through this program, it leads up to getting your Red Hat certification. And prior to doing that, you go through a cert prep section of the course and everything. Tell me a little bit about that, Dan. What was your experience like with the cert prep? Was it, do you feel like you were pretty prepared going into that?
Yes. You are definitely prepared to go into cert prep. However,
I knew there was a but coming.
that is the first time where stuff gets amped up, and your first week is like, oh wow, I need to turn it up a little bit, because it goes from being a slow week to learning like one or two things to learning like three or four different items. And it's a lot faster, but since you already went through it with all your cohort, and the confused by Monday, really confused on Wednesday, getting a little clearer on Saturday, and then you got it on Sunday. It's just a simple adaptation that you got to make. I mean, it gets a little bit hairy at times, like when you're going through this whole process, but it's for good reason. You take a step, and then you might take two steps, and then when you go to the internship, you're going to take like 4 steps.
Yeah. And we're going to get to the internship part here in just a second, because I know that's where the rubber meets the road for sure. But do either Sherman or George have anything to add about cert prep? And let me tag another additional question onto that. What was it like taking the certification exam?
Cert prep kicked my butt. I'm not going to lie. Like, there was just a lot of, I had this assumption, which was my first mistake, that it was going to be just sort of like a review of everything that we learned to prepare for the test. But no, it was new material, more complicated material. I was like, oh man. So I had a couple of hardships the first couple of weeks of the cert prep. So I did have some life stuff happen. So and in combination, I had a rough start to the cert prep, but once I got my traction back, I had to put double time in. And that's the thing. Like, how badly do you want it? Right. Like I missed a lot. I wasn't understanding in the first couple of weeks, but that meant that instead of staying up to 11, I'd stay up to 1 a.m. studying. I just did what I had to do. Like, I went with this concept of like, there's 24 hours in the day, use as much as you need to do this program. That's just the way I thought about it, And the exam itself, because you asked that question, right?
Yeah.
The exam itself, I'm not going to lie, it racked my nerves, man. I had a rough time with it, but I passed. So
yeah.
I passed on my first try. So
yeah. To add to that, what was great about Cert Prep, it's challenging, but they really break down how to pass the exam. All the topics that's required are covered. The score you need to make is reiterated numerous times. You go through each and every topic broken down, and then as George said and Dan said, you got to put in the work. You got to practice. You got to do it over and over again. But it's really a step up from the creeping, then crawling, then walking, then running, then jumping in the car, then get on the highway, then going fast. Like the whole program gradually gets increasingly, I could use the word difficult, but there is enough support along the way for you to get through it. And for me, I don't like taking exams, but I knew this was at the end of it. I think I took maybe a month after the last class in Cert Prep to really study, practice, and do the exams, because you're actually given two exams, three practice exams. That really cover more or less everything you're going to face in the exam. So, and you're encouraged to really put yourself in an environment that's going to be exactly what the exam is going to be. So you have, once you're through that, and once you're able to get through these practice exams, you're ready. And it's just a matter, from that point, it's just a matter of believing in yourself and knowing you're putting the work, and you have the skills it takes to pass the exam. So for me, it was tough, but it was definitely a good experience. As David always says, and it sticks in my head, what my instructor always says: breathe and read. And I had to say that to myself over and over. When you read a question, okay, what are they asking me here? What did I cover in my Cert Prep? What is needed? And then you just take your time and you go through it. So once you follow and you believe in the system and you follow the system, I think for anyone, you will be okay.
You said believe, you had to believe in yourself. Was there at any point during Cert Prep or in the program where the dreaded foe, imposter syndrome, started to creep up and tap you on the shoulder?
Oh, yeah. It happens. Definitely happens where you might think, okay, and there was a topic that I'm still learning today, containers. I left that question for last, but strategically, obviously, we were prepared to really go through the exam and approach it from, okay, this is what I need to pass, but I do have the skills. So, there are certain things, and everyone will have their strengths and probable weaknesses in certain topics.
Sure.
But, it's just a matter of knowing that you're prepared and trusting the process that you've been through in the previous months to get you through it. So, nice. But the doubt does happen. It definitely happens.
Containers seems to be the thing that I hear the most from all y'all about. The difficulties come in when it comes to containers. So
fun stuff.
So just continuing along with the process here now. So we've learned new study habits. We've gone into Cert Prep thinking it was going to be a refresher, and learned that your head was about to explode because it was all new information. But you went and you took the scary test and you passed the test. Now you're ready to jump into the internship or the apprenticeship with Procore Plus. Did you have a little bit of time off prior to actually being onboarded and being put in that?
I did. I had probably a few weeks.
Did you?
Yeah.
So you get at least usually like a week, yeah?
You get to breathe a little bit. Yeah.
A little bit.
Yeah.
Probably need it. Yeah.
So then all of a sudden you're put into the Procore Plus apprenticeship, and this is usually the time when I get to first meet with the students. And one thing I will say, for you guys. Obviously had your eyes on the prize, because I think all three of you reached out to me long before it was due. And just to kind of, start thinking about what you needed to do. One of my favorite questions that I get all the time as a career coach is the people that come to me when they don't have to, and they say, what should I be doing now? And it's like, okay, cool. You're thinking ahead, getting that little extra step and everything. And I know I had conversations with all three of you guys, and I think that's awesome. But you're going into this internship or this apprenticeship, and man, it's set up like this is the thing, right? I mean, you are now getting ready to basically practice everything that you have learned. And from what I understand, then some. Yes. So tell me about the difference between the apprenticeship and the Yellowtail Tech program.
Yeah, Dan.
Dan, you've been quiet. Let's start with Dan here.
You went first.
All right. Well, being the big competitive person that I am, I was one of the first 4 people into the internship out of my cohort. And week 1 was like the ultimate shock to me. Like it was like almost like playing in the minors for years, right? And then you finally get your chance to be a pro, and you're like, I know how to do this. So
but that curveball is way more wicked.
But why isn't it working?
Yeah.
That curveball came in quick, boy. So I mean, it's you have to adapt like all the way 360 again. Like you're gonna have to reach out to all the people that are in this class or internship, and they're all at various points within the program. I was one of the first 4 in, like I said, but there was already cohorts that were in there like on ticket like 65, and I'm just starting out, and I'm asking questions, and I'm trying to find like how they deciphered each one of these tickets and like got past them. And it's all basically in your little chat line. You got to find it, and you got to learn the material to like get past all these tickets.
Yeah.
And it's definitely a game changer. Like this is where you're going to like try to find stuff on YouTube. That you're going to try to find, tutorials from like Slack. You're going to have to try to find your own way of doing it, because there's several ways to accomplish all of those tickets.
Right. Don't you feel that doing the research and figuring it out on your own before going to helps you retain the knowledge a lot better? I mean, for me, when I have to work for something or I make a really big mistake, that's when the lesson cuts deepest. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. And that, and like if you actually start working in like the real environment, like because I know that I need to put something together before I ask a question. Asking my question at work is so much easier, because this is what I've done. This is what I can't accomplish. And the conversation just goes a little bit like a lot smoother when you're there to ask the question that you don't know.
Yeah, being able to articulate what you're looking for and explain the situation is half the battle.
I was going to say,
go ahead, George.
I feel like the internship is a test of your resourcefulness and your communication skills more than anything. Yes, you do learn new technologies, new things that you've not seen yet and you have to learn on your own, just like thrown to the wolves kind of thing, for sure. But I think that's where it's testing your resourcefulness. Who can I talk to? Where can I research this? Because I feel like simulated, like a real, in the real world, you're not going to have someone there next to you. You have to become resourceful. You have to reach out. I joined multiple chats, like tech chats offline, like off Yellowtail, in addition to relying on my Yellowtail cohort. So there's a lot of communication, documentation, those types of skills, I believe, are really developed in this program, in this phase.
That's cool to hear you say that too, though, because, those are the things that I think employers, are looking for as much as the actual technical abilities. I say it all the time. It's easier to teach somebody how to be better at the technical portion of the job than it is to teach them how to document, how to communicate, all of those kinds of things. So it's cool to hear that those skills are being developed along the way as well. Mm-hmm. So anything to add, Sherman?
Yeah. The internship hit me, boy. It is. It is. Well, I was fortunate too, because, Dan was in my cohort. Dan was probably a few weeks, he went in a few weeks before me. So a lot of the things I was facing, I always had at least 3 or 4 persons who would have gone through it before. And, as I think I mentioned to George, man, we've all been there. So we know when you're faced with a question or you can't get something to work, and you have the great thing about it is you don't complete a ticket until there's a few steps. Obviously, you have to screenshot what you've done. You have to show how you've troubleshoot each and every aspect. You have to document. So it teaches you a lot of soft skills, how to research, where to research, finding, as George said, varying places to get resources and resourceful to answer questions. So there's a lot of I had a lot of late nights, very close to a few sleepless nights, knowing when to walk away from your machine and take a break, spend time with the family. You're gonna need to take a day or 2 or 5 off, because it will be necessary. But what I loved about it, though, is that it's real. It's exactly how it's going to be in the real world. No one is going to be there always to tell you what to do. But here you do have your cohorts and the other students who has been through it before, so you can reach out. But there's a process that you have to follow of putting in the work, trying to solve issues on your own, and then, hey, okay, I've tried A, B, C, D. This is what it looks like. This is the error I'm getting. Do you have any ideas? And it's not really to give you the answer, but to point you in the right direction. Hey, have you tried this? Or look at this link. I have an article here that may help you. Little things that can help point you in the right direction to find answers. And as Dan said, in his experience, that's exactly how it will be, when you get out into the field. So it really mimics what we will experience on a day-to-day basis in the IT field, in any area, whether you're in as a system admin or in AWS. So that's what I really loved about it.
You guys probably remember being a kid in like some of the first math classes that you were a part of, and the teacher would always be like, and make sure you show your work. You remember that? It was like, I remember that because I always hated math. Show your work. They wanted to see how you did it. And that's one of my favorite lines when I talk about the interview process and everything, is that that's what you want to accomplish in these interviews. You want to show them the work. And by that, I don't necessarily mean, yes, I did that. I put A into B and blah, blah, blah. But what I mean is that you think like an administrator. You have the logic and the as Dan mentioned earlier, the foundation that is solid. And from there, yeah, there's just endless possibilities on where you can go, because yeah, there's a ton of different ways to, what is 4, right? It's 2 plus 2, it's 1 plus 3, it's 5 minus 1. I mean, it could be a million different things, right? But if you understand what you're trying to get to, then that makes it a little bit easier. So we're starting to get almost towards the end of the hour here. So I before I just open it up a little bit, Dan is probably the only one that we can really ask this question of right now, because he's out there making the big bucks and everything. But now that you've been out there for 3 weeks practicing this and actually being paid for it and whatnot, do you feel that your training at Yellowtail has helped prepare you for what you're doing now? And can you elaborate on it a little bit?
I definitely feel like having some sort of tech knowledge is helping me out a lot. My day one at work, they pretty much gave me the keys to the castle with, all of the technology that they do. And it's a lot. But I mean, going through that Yellowtail process, I mean, it was a lot of the times. So I mean, I just take it one thing at a time. And whenever something comes down the pipe, is I just kind of get my bearings. Yeah, I might be confused about it, but I know it's going to get better. I just kind of climb up the ladder step by step.
That's all you can do, man. And it's like you try to retain as much as you can. You like you talked earlier, you have all your notes and videos and things that you can refer back to. But I think no matter what because of the evolving state of technology, especially, no matter what you learn, I don't want to say it's going to be obsolete next year, because that's not true, but it's going to evolve. It's going to probably be different, or else there's going to be new technologies that are going to help you accomplish those same things faster and easier. And there's just no way that you can know everything, but I would like to believe that your foundation has made it a much easier transition into the workplace than it might have been otherwise.
Yeah, the foundation is there. I mean, like, all the terminology is different, but I have like the foundation that goes below it. So like in my environment, we have a containerization used in Ubuntu. And I've never used this software before, but I know, how Red Hat kind of goes with the argument and, the action and what you're trying to do. And that is what ties into like the commands on a different system. So you might not know those specific commands, but you know how you're running your command. So it all kind of goes like hand in hand. Like I have like the foundation of it. I don't know how to use the system quite yet, but it's going to be easier for me to do it instead of, training some person that doesn't have any knowledge on it, right, or any foundation.
My favorite analogy is the driving a car in the States, driving a car in Ireland, right? You have the foundations. You know what it's like to drive a car. You know how to be safe. You know what all the instruments do. But now you're on the other side of the road, man. So you've got to think about it a little bit more, and you've got to kind of apply some different logic to what you're doing. But it's much easier for somebody to do that than it is to just give somebody the keys that's never driven before and say, here you go.
And that's exactly like what Yellowtail does for you. I mean, like I didn't have any skills at the beginning. I took a couple of steps and then I took two more steps. And then here I am, like almost on the roof.
So let me ask you, how did you celebrate when that contract came in and you signed that contract? Was it a big celebration that night?
I was just about the happiest person in the world. All of the studying and all of the late nights that you put yourself through in the program, there's nothing that compares to job hunting. It is like the worst time that you will ever have in your life, trying to go around your 9-to-5 schedule to try to find a big boy job. And when that was finally over, I was just like, I'll take it. Yeah. I'll take it.
All right. So I want to give George and Sherman an opportunity for any last comments or words of wisdom as well. So I'll start with you, Sherman.
Yeah. For anyone who's considering the program, and I know, it's geared towards folks who may not have much IT background, but, even for someone like myself who kind of sort of had some IT background and really want to narrow your focus on this particular technology, it's been great. Like anything else, you would have to put in the work, but the program is so outlined where I honestly believe with all my heart, anyone could do this. If you have a passion for IT, if you are willing to work hard, if you're willing to sacrifice, communicate with your family, and you want to build a brighter and better future for yourself, firstly, and for those around you, I think it's definitely worth the investment. It's, for me, one of the best decisions I've made in my life, and I strongly believe that one of the best decisions I've made in my life. I will do it again, my motto right now is to never stop learning. And for all of us in IT, that has to be our motto because of the field we're in. Just never stop learning. But this has been and will continue to be, a great investment. And I'm just excited excited for what the future may bring for myself and for all my cohort mates and anyone else who are, considering the program. So.
Well, and I know that contract is coming your way any day now, man. You've been working hard. You've put together a good job search. The way that you're going about it, like Dan said, it's not the most fun thing to be involved with. You're going to hear rejection. You're going to feel bad at times, but. Like Dan, you learn from each experience and take that to the next. And pretty soon, you're wearing real big boy button up shirts and everything, right?
Yeah, I like that phrase, big boy. I love it.
Yeah. And George,
big boy.
I know George is, for those that aren't familiar, part of the whole process at Yellowtail is we have a series of mock interviews. Dan went through them, Sherman went through them, and George is about to go through them. And it's very cool for me to be able to sit in on all these and be a part of, because I get to watch the progress that y'all make going through there. So I'm going to ask George, before I get any last words for him, if he has any trepidation about the mock interviews, which I think we're doing your first one this week, right?
Yeah, I think that you just like to watch people squirm in their chairs personally.
No, not me.
It's gonna be fun, George. It's gonna be fun.
Like the sadist or it's like
trepidation. I just, like anything else, I take it with a grain of salt. Like, I take it seriously, but I a little nervous. I hope that what I've learned and the skills I know I have translate. That's my biggest fear, I guess, is getting that across, because I know I've learned a lot, and I practice a lot and I do a lot. So the whole thing for me is to get into a state of mind where I can just articulate that in an interview. And that's the big hurdle,
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I got to tell you, man, I admire you guys. I have enjoyed and continue to enjoy talking to you on a regular basis. I know great things are ahead for the three of you, definitely. And I want to thank you guys for coming on and talking to me today. And I know that those that are interested in our program, or those that are going through the program, will get a good dose of reality of what it's like. And I hope that it helps. So I want to thank everybody out there that took the time to tune in and listen to the episode. Again, my name is Rob Coble. I'm the career success coach here at Yellowtail. And give us a call, man. Make sure if there's any questions that we can answer or help you guys out with as you begin your journey into the tech world, feel free to reach out to us anytime. We love talking to you. Thanks again to my rock star guests. I will talk to you guys all real soon. And even though we're kind of like, don't put time date stamps on these, I will wish everybody a happy holiday and kind of give it away there. So thanks for joining. And I look forward to talking to you all soon.
Thanks, Rob. Thanks, Sherman. Thanks, Dan.